The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Toledo, Washington, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34110. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start with the front bumper. Just under the front bumper area, you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks on the passenger and driver side frame rail. Moving up onto the face of the bumper, you'll find dual air horns, passenger side and driver side. Moving to the driver side, you'll find your mechanical siren on the front bumper face, and also just next to it, an additional air horn. Let's move up onto the bumper extension area, where you'll find a tubbed storage location where you'll find your swivel 1.5-inch discharge. Moving up onto the cab face, you'll find on each side clearance turn indicator marker lights. Just inside of that location, you'll find your headlight structure housing the low and high beam headlights. The high beam is on the inside. Moving up from that location, you'll find a LED turn indicator and also emergency warning light. Moving up onto the seamless one-piece windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers. On the outer edges, you'll find your mirrors housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving to the brow, you'll find your clearance lights. There are 5 of them. Located directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. As we move up onto the roof of the apparatus, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Let's take a look at some close-ups now. First, we'll start with the front bumper area, and then we'll move to the bumper extension, where you'll find that tubbed storage location for your front bumper load. This is the 1.5-inch swivel discharge, dry deck material, and also a Velcro hold strap. Moving around to the driver's side, you'll find your shoreline inlet. This is a 20-amp auto eject plug. Moving now to the notch, we'll find, first starting in the upper left-hand corner just below the Pierce logo, you'll find your 2.5-inch discharges. This is the number 1 and number 3. You'll also find a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Be cautious when opening caps that may be under pressure. Moving to the right, you'll find the Pierce logo American flag eagle. This is your large diameter pump intake. Moving to the right, you'll find a warning label here regarding not riding on the side of the apparatus, and also your auxiliary foam functions for foam inlet, foam strainer, and foam tank drains. Beneath that, you'll find a warning label here regarding foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the concern of foam failure. Just beneath that, you'll find all of your color-coded and discharge drains. To the right, you'll find your driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch female inlet. As we move just above the notch, you'll find 2 discharges in the lower section and 1 in the upper. In between the 2 discharges, you'll find a release mechanism allowing you to release the speed load from its container inside. You'll also find an entanglement hazard warning because of those lines coming from aloft. There is the possibility of entanglement. At the very top, there's an additional dead lay. Let's now move to the very top of the cab. This is where you'll find an LED tank water level indicator. We'll now move to the very first compartment with the pump panel. At the very top, you'll find if this LED light is illuminating, your pump is properly engaged. Moving to the gray section, you're going to find your master intake. Just next to it, you'll find the master discharge. These are the 2 gauges at the very top of the pump panel. Moving further down, you'll find your test gauge ports. These are for vacuum and pressure and for testing purposes. Moving to the right, you'll find an audible alarm and also a visual indicator of the PCM fault. The audible alarm does have a bezel around the outer edge, which allows you to dampen the sound of that. Moving down now to the discharges, you'll find clearly color-coded and labeled discharges. Moving to the right, you'll find your instructions here for your Husky Foam System 12 and also the specifications. Your vehicle is equipped with a compressed air system. That is the information regarding your compressed air. Moving to the right, you'll find your rear discharge. This is that 2.5-inch to the rear and the very top. We'll go over the Pierce pressure throttle governor next. Let's start in the upper left-hand corner of this module, first starting with an amber check engine light if illuminating.
Moving just across, you'll find the digital readout for the throttle or RPM. Moving further to the right, if illuminated, it would be red in color. It is a stop engine light. And as we move downward, you'll find diagnostic engine information. On the outer edge or right side of this information, you'll find a pump temperature indicator. Moving down from this location in the blue module, you'll find the water tank level indicator. Moving to the right, you'll find two buttons. First, the silence button, allowing it to silence any audible alarms. And as we move down, the orange button, which allows you to scroll through the various menu functions of your pressure throttle governor. Moving down, there are two options in the control modes. You have pressure control or RPM control. To make that selection, you'll push the blue button located on the left. Moving just to the right, you'll find a green indicator indicating that the throttle is ready to be engaged. And then moving to the right, you'll find a green preset button, allow you to utilize presets. Just beneath that, you'll find your throttle, right to increase, left to decrease. Push in the very center in the red where it says idle, and it'll move the apparatus to the idle position. Let's move now just down to the next module where we'll find all of your switches which independently control each of those discharges. They're color-coded and also labeled. You do have an audible warning located just beneath that. To the left, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line and also your tank to pump. The blue module is your Hercules CAFS system for your air compressor. There is an on-off switch at the very top. We'll talk about those functions in the next section. Moving to the right, you'll find your Husky 12 module, and further to the right, you'll find your level indicator for foam tank A. Just beneath that, you'll find the primer for your fire pump. There is an indication here for priming instructions, at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices. Let's go all the way back over to the left, the lower section. You'll find these are your two electronic valves on the passenger side, color-coded and labeled. To the right, you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedule, which we'll go over in just a moment, and also a warning label here that only trained professionals should operate this piece of equipment only after they've received proper training. This is your Hercules CAFS system. This is the compressor for your CAFS system. There's an on-off switch at the top, a function whether you would choose auto or manual mode, indication here on the right for the air pressure, and then also a digital readout for air flow. There's also at the very bottom a red indicator which will also set an audible alarm for the high oil temp, and then to the right you'll see a gauge indicating the oil temperature. Let's move just to the right where you'll find your foam system module. That is the red module here. There is an on-off button. It is the red button, also indicating power at the top. You do have a indication here when this light is flashing. It's indicating that foam is flowing. The lower section, just to review some of the switches, we do have a foam prime button. That's the yellow button. As we move down, you can scroll through the various pages within the module. It's the orange button. And if you select that module, you can move into the enter button, which is the blue button. The two green buttons allow you for functions of either going up in the menu or also increase or decrease foam. Let's move now to the minimum operation maintenance schedule. On the left-hand side, you'll see in the white modules here, you'll see the 1,509. That is your GPMs for the associated test pressure of 150. To the right, in the white, 1812 is your RPMs. Moving from this location, these are the two electronic valves, number 2 passenger side and also the green large diameter passenger side. At the very bottom, you'll find the round knobs. These are twist, not pull. As we move further down, you'll find the release valves. These are for your drains. Moving down to the lower left-hand corner is where you're going to find your CAFS outlet. Let's move back to the right-hand side where you'll find the pan door. Behind that pan door, you'll find instructions on the door panel itself matching the lever on the inside, which is yellow. That is for your foam fill operations. You'll also find your manual shift override. It is the red protected with an amber indicator. On the left-hand side, you'll find the driver's side scene light, passenger side scene light, and rear scene lights. As we move now, there is a toolbox located. The upper handle allows you to open that toolbox. Let's move just to the rear. In front of the rear tire is where you'll find your 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. It is the blue cap. Just above that, you'll find 2 SCBA bottle storage locations. As we move to the next image, you'll find at the very top a tool board D handle allows you to gain access. There is a lock on the right-hand side when it is in the open position. Just beneath that, we're going to find 2 storage locations for SCBA bottle storage. Each of those have the ability to store 2 bottles. You'll also find just above the rear axle an emergency warning light. Moving down, you'll find DEF fill location, and moving further down, you'll find a mid location turn indicator clearance light. Moving to the right, to the rear of the axle, is where you'll find your diesel ultra low sulfur diesel fill location. It is a silver cap. Here's some close-ups of those images we just talked about. We're at the rear section just above the diesel fill location. You can see it has a silver cap. Let's move to the next compartment to the very rear, where you'll find at the very top, you'll find all of your compartments have this. This is an airflow, allowing you to recirculate air with inside your compartments. You'll also find down in the lower right-hand corner, we have access for 110 power when plugged into shore power. You'll also find your folding wheel chocks just beneath that. When plugged into shore power, these outlets will be active. They are 2 20 amp outlets. Underneath, you'll find your folding wheel chocks. Let's take a look now at the side of the apparatus from a rear perspective. You'll find an LED side-facing floodlight, and then also at the very top, a side-facing emergency warning light. Let's take a look at some of the options in the very back of the vehicle. Starting first at the very bottom, there is a tow hook attachment point at the very center, and then also underneath you'll find perimeter lighting. At the very top, you'll find your brake, turn, and reverse light. You'll also find a combination of 5 fold-down steps, 1 on the passenger, and then 4 on the passenger, 1 on the driver's side. You'll also find emergency warning lights on the passenger and driver's side. Located in the very center, you'll find a rear-facing floodlight. Just up from that location, you'll find the amber traffic advisor. As we move to the outer edges, we're going to find a few compartments here. First, let's start with the 3 pan door compartments in the lower section. There's also one in the very top section. We'll go over that in just a moment too. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items that we just talked about. Let's start down at the very bottom. This is your roll-up compartment door at the very bottom center location. As we move up from this location, you'll find a 24-foot extension, a 14-foot roof. As we move further up from this location, you'll find your folding 10-foot attic ladder, and then also long tool pike pole storage. To the right, you'll also find pike pole storage. Let's move from this location to the very top, where you'll find the storage location. This is in the step well going aloft for your large diameter suction. You'll also find a hose bed light switch in the lower left-hand corner or driver's side. We're now at the top of the vehicle, where you'll find compartments on top. They do have dry deck material and LED lighting inside those also, and ventilation. We'll go over a few items within this area. There are passenger and driver's side front and rear top compartments. As we move now to the center section, let's identify a few items within the dunnage area. First, let's start with your rear 2.5-inch discharge located directly in the center. You'll find a water fill location for your main water tank, and then you'll also find a fill location for top fill for your foam tank A. There's also a warning label on this: do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the reasons of foam failure. As we move to the forward location, you'll find your CAF system on the left-hand side and your master stream device on the right. Let's go over a few items within your CAF's system. I've got a close-up here to kind of give you a little bit better understanding. This is the fill location for your hydraulic oil reservoir. As we move to the master stream device, it does have an extension and also the ability to remove the master stream device. Moving to the front section of the cab, this is a non-walking surface. That's why we have these 2 caution labels here. Just a general view from the front looking toward the rear. Let's go ahead and move around now to the passenger side. You can see you have adjustable shelving and also the ventilation system. As we move just to the rear axle, you'll find 2 SCBA bottle storage locations housing a total of 6 SCBA bottles. They do have retaining straps for security. You can see the front one does have the ability for 5 SCBA bottles, my correction, and also an oxygen bottle. Moving just forward of that location, you'll find at the very bottom, you'll find 2 pull-out sections here. The latches are on the far right-hand side. Also within this compartment, if you move to the upper left-hand corner, this is going to be your battery charger when plugged into shore power. As we move to the right, this is the timer for utilizing your ventilation system within your compartments. You also have an additional 110 access when plugged into shore power. This outlet will be active. Here's some close-ups of those items we just talked about. This is the shoreline outlet and also the charger. You can see that the inside the charger is a wheel timer and allows you to set particular times that you want those to be ventilated. Let's move down to the notch section. First, starting on the passenger side, you'll find this warning label, "Do not ride on the side of your apparatus for reasons of fall." You'll also find a 2.5-inch strainer located here with a cap on it. Moving just to the right, you'll find the Pierce American Flag Eagle large diameter passenger side inlet. You'll also find a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Be cautious when removing caps, they may be under pressure. You'll also find, because of this being an electronic valve, you do have an override. This is a 2.5-inch discharge. As we move further down, this also is an electronic valve. It does have a override, and it is the green passenger side discharge. You'll also find your cab lift module on the left-hand side, and then all your color-coded drains located in the lower section. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. This is that water strainer I mentioned earlier. As we move to the right, you'll find your large diameter pump intake, and then also the two discharges, 2.5-inch and large diameter, orange and green. You'll also find the cab lift here. We do have some caution and danger information. There is instructions for raising the cab and also lowering the cab. And across the very bottom, all your color-coded drains. Let's move now to the cab. Affixed to all door panels, you'll find this set of warning labels for firefighter safety. Also in the hinged area of the door, you'll find this grab handle to assist firefighters for getting in and out of the cab. As we look inside, you can see 2 forward-facing seats and also 2 rear-facing seats. As we move to the rear section, this is the pedestal here for the rear seats. As we move now to the side, you'll find an additional SCBA bottle storage location. And then also we move to the opposite side, you'll find an additional SCBA bottle storage location. As we move to the center area, you'll find the fill locations and daily check access for oil and transmission. Let's go ahead and take just a general look here inside the cab. This is going to be from the rear looking toward the front driver's position. As we look in between those two seats, we're going to find this is your EQ2B, this is your siren module, and we'll also find that you have 12-volt access, 110 access when plugged into shore power. That outlet is active. Let's look overhead. You'll find push on and off, white or red lights. Just simply push the lens itself. As we look to the front officer's location affixed to the cab door panel, you'll find warning labels. You'll also find the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. And then let's move all the way up to the upper left-hand corner here. We'll talk about these two items next. Moving up onto the dash areas where you're going to find your air horn push button. And then just beneath that, you'll find a 12-volt access. This is a USB style. To the right at the door panel hinged area is where you're going to find your fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Moving up to the top, we have 2 panels that have blanks in them. The one in the center is going to be your Pierce seatbelt information, red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted, green that they are belted. Underneath the officer's seat, you will find an additional storage location. Let's now move to the driver's area where you'll find affixed to the door labels these warning labels. You'll also find seatbelt information attached to the seats. And then if we look down in the lower right-hand corner about the driver's right ankle area, we'll discuss what this yellow placard is in the next set of images. Let's take a look at the stepwell area where you'll find your air inlet. As we move up from this location, just beneath the driver's seat, you'll find your battery voltage indicator. When plugged into shore power, this will be activated. This is your manufacturer by Pierce for your department. It has the date of manufacture, the 5-digit job number. It also has gross vehicle weight ratings, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, and all of the fluid capacities for the components, fluid capacity, and fluid type. As we move about the left knee of the operator, you'll find the master battery switch. To the right, you'll find an engine transport ABS diagnostic port and also J1939 diagnostic port. Beneath that, you'll find your ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit. On the right-hand side, you'll find about the right knee the stationary OK to pump indicator, a water pump switch, a foam system switch, and also your CAFS switch. In the upper left-hand corner of the dash, we're going to find your ignition and start. To the right, you'll find emergency master, turns on all of your emergency lights or off, headlight control, and then to the right, you'll find a panel switch, which allows you to brighten or dim the panel lights. On the very far right, you'll find the OK to engage your high idle and the high idle indicator. Let's move up from that location where you'll find your mirror control for flat mirror and convexed. Moving all the way to the center, you'll find your steering wheel. As we move just through the center of that location, let's talk about the dash components first, starting on the left with transmission, oil, DEF level, and water temp. On the right, you'll find volts, fuel, front and rear air. In the center, you'll have the tachometer and speedometer, diagnostic information displays above and below the speedometers. To the right, you'll find a pump pressure module. This is a digital readout for your pump pressure. To the right, you'll find a water level and also a foam A indicator. These are for the level of fluid in those tanks. Just beneath that, you'll find light control for front flood, driver's side, passenger side, rear, perimeter, and also a red siren brake. Beneath that, you'll find your engine brake on and off setting switch for low, medium, and high, the selection switch between air horn and electric horn, high beam flash, mirror heat, and also your load manager. When those have been selected, you can see the green indicator will illuminate. Moving just down from this location, you'll find your windshield wiper, push to apply fluid, right to left will turn on the windshield wipers. You'll also find climate control, and then also a caution here to disengage your retarder on slippery surfaces. As we move to the center, you'll find your pull to apply your system parking brake. That's the yellow diamond. And to the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad with a pump in neutral indicator. Over the operator's head, you'll find your height, 9 feet 11 inches, your length, 31 feet 10.5 inches, a gross vehicle weight rating, 49,000 pounds. If you make any changes to your vehicle, please update this placard. Let's move just to the right within the driver's preview. You'll find your emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. Once again, any of these switches have been activated, you'll find the green LED indicator illuminating in the rear of the switch. Let's move to the right where you'll find your EQ2B. This is your federal siren. You'll also find just to the right your traffic advisor on-off switch here, and also the function mode. Moving overhead, you'll find this red puck style light. If it's illuminating, it's indicating do not move your truck. You may have a compartment or door open. As we look to the rear, this is from the front looking to the rear, you have your 2-seat center mounted SCBAs, and then you also have 2 rear facing SCBAs. I also would like to point out on the very side, just above the cab doors, you'll find a side facing LED floodlight. Congratulations, Toledo, Washington, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34110. If you have any questions about your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales associate. Thank you and congratulations.